The galaxy didn't know he existed, not because he was hiding, not because he lacked power. No, he was invisible in plain sight, a ghost moving quietly between stars, unnoticed by empires that had mapped every inch of space. Yet, on the distant world of Litherus IV, a rumor passed from the Empress's generals to her closest aides. A human has been seen in the system. The human. Just one. No one said aloud, but the term human carried weight. 2 centuries ago, humans had vanished, supposedly wiped out by the dreaded Aridai Collective, a civilization whose fleet alone could rival entire star systems. But whispers among veterans suggested a different truth. Humans didn't die. They evolved, adapted, and learned patience as other species learned fear. And now, as the Empress of the Aridai, tall, elegant, and armed with the galaxy's deadliest technologies, sat upon her obsidian throne, the intelligence reports blinked red. Human detected, orbiting Litherus IV. She didn't rise. She didn't panic. She simply lifted her eyes, violet and unnerving, toward the holographic projection of the approaching ship. One human, alone. The human ship was small, unassuming, almost laughably so compared to her dreadnought fleet. No weapon protruded from its sleek hull. No visible shields flickered. Yet the collective instinct of every Aridai officer screamed danger. Not the danger of firepower, of energy beams, plasma lances, or orbit-to-orbit bombardment, but the danger of intelligence, patience, and unseen potential. 2 hours prior, the Empress had sent her personal envoy, a massive battleship named Oblivion's Fong, to intercept this human. Her expectation was simple: destroy or capture. Now, the envoy drifted silently, scanning every spectrum, every gravimetric anomaly, every subspace channel, only to report one maddening fact. The human ship wasn't moving the way it should. Calculations predicted that a ship of that mass and energy signature must have burned fuel and created detectable distortion. Yet all sensors reported nothing. Not fuel, not heat, not warp, only a tiny silhouette against the star. The Empress's lips curled slightly. She had faced thousands of alien species, some clever, some brutal, some cunning. None had ever earned her attention like this one human. None. Her advisors, terrified of her focus, whispered in the shadows. Why does she care so much about a single human? The Empress said nothing. She only whispered one word, almost to herself. Patience. The human ship approached Litherus IV in absolute silence. Orbiting satellites registered no signature. Gravity sensors, no disturbance. Yet, the world's tectonic monitors started registering strange microfluctuations, a rhythm that no natural phenomenon could produce. Inside the human ship, a single pilot stared at the planet's surface. He was not young. He was not old. His eyes were steady, reflecting the violet light of Litherus's twin suns. Every calculation, every trajectory, every possible variable had already been run hundreds of times, not in machines, but in his mind. Humans had learned to make impossible predictions, to anticipate what even the most sophisticated AI could not. He knew something about this planet, something that even the Empress herself would not suspect. The humans sent one small probe into the Aridai fleet. It wasn't armed. It didn't scan for weapons. It only floated silently, then disappeared. But in that disappearance, every sensor in the fleet went haywire. Telemetry screamed contradictions. Navigational charts folded themselves into impossibility, and enemy AI reported errors it could not recover from. Impossible, the Empress muttered. The Aridai fleet formed a perfect crescent around the planet. Their strategy was flawless, every ship in perfect alignment, every cannon pointing at the human ship. Yet the human did not flee. He did not engage. He simply watched, let them tighten the noose, and waited. The Empress, curious and cautious, decided to engage personally. She descended to orbit in her flagship, the Imperial Violet, a vessel that dwarfed the entire human fleet of yesteryear. Her ship radiated raw power, weapons capable of cracking planets in moments, shields that could shrug off supernova blasts, and an aura of invincibility no one had survived to defy. The human's response was a small flicker of movement, almost imperceptible, and yet it triggered a chain reaction. Gravity fields around the fleet began to bend in subtle ways, altering trajectories imperceptibly but fatally. Every salvo the Aritai fired was slightly off, just enough to miss, and every maneuver they tried only drew them closer to the unknown. In an instant, the Empress realized this was not a human ship attacking. It was a human trap. From the ship's core, waves of quantum disruption radiated outward. This was no traditional weapon. No laser, no missile, no bomb. It was subtle, almost poetic. Reality itself began to distort. Space warped. Subspace folded. Gravitational waves twisted around the human ship like invisible arms. Her fleet panicked as formations warped, hulls collided, and massive cruisers suddenly became obstacles for one another. The Empress tried to issue commands, but her subspace communications bent and folded unpredictably, reaching her ships too late or in the wrong order. How? She whispered. A single human alone? It was impossible. And yet the evidence was undeniable. The human had tapped into a principle long forgotten by most civilizations. Humans learned faster than physics expected. They turned natural laws into weapons, anticipation into strategy, and patience into destruction. And in this moment, the Empress realized something even more terrifying. This human had seen her moves before she made them. She activated the Imperial Violet's primary weapons. Planet-cracking lances powered up, entire moons trembling under the anticipated discharge. The human ship did not dodge in conventional sense. It simply reorganized reality around it. Waves of gravitational distortion folded enemy fire back upon the fleet. Cannons misfired. Energy shields collapsed under their own amplified load. Her entire armada, the pride of the galaxy, began to unravel like a tapestry pulled by unseen hands. Ships collided, superstructures cracked, and massive explosions erupted without warning, not where weapons struck, but where the human's mind had predicted weak points. The Empress, furious and terrified, realized that sheer power was useless. She had never faced an adversary whose strength was completely invisible until it acted. As the fleet collapsed, the human deployed a small, shimmering device above the planet. It unfolded silently, projecting a holographic grid visible only to her ship. The Empress leaned forward, intrigued despite herself. The grid revealed centuries of accumulated human calculations, every possible tactic, every anticipated counter, and a single message scrawled across the projection. One human, one Empress, one unseen power. The grid shifted. Energy streams from a human device began to align the planet's tectonic plates, subtly yet irreversibly. Oceans began to rise. Mountains cracked. The world itself became a weapon, guided by one mind. The Empress's shields held barely. She realized that the human ship was merely a projection, a focal point, and that the real power lay in the manipulation of mass, gravity, and probability itself. In desperation, the Empress activated her ultimate weapon, a planet cracker bomb, enough to annihilate the human ship and flatten Lithoris 4. She aimed, counted down, and fired. The human did not move. The bomb never reached its target. Instead, gravitational distortions folded the bomb's path back toward the fleet, scattering energy and shattering the very megastructures it passed. The Empress watched in disbelief as her weapon destroyed her own ships instead of the humans. The human finally spoke, his voice calm and steady across the static-filled comms. You built weapons to rule the galaxy. I built patience to survive it. And then, as silently as he arrived, the human ship vanished, not into warp, not into hyperspace, but into the very fabric of reality. The Empress and her shattered fleet were left with only one truth. Humanity had returned, not with numbers, not with fleets, but with a power the galaxy had never measured, a cunning no empire could resist, and patience no warlord could withstand. Lithoris 4 survived, scarred but intact. The Empress lived, humbled and wary, across the galaxy. Rumors spread of one human, alone, capable of bending reality and outthinking entire civilizations. Every empire, every war council, every fleet began to rethink what they called power. Humans were no longer weak, no longer a footnote in galactic history. The galaxy now understood a hard truth. Never underestimate one human, especially when she or he moves unseen, patient, and unstoppable. And somewhere in the silent void between stars, the human pilot prepared for the next encounter.